Hello guys, welcome to Code Heaven. In this video, we've been discussing the process of creating gym management system using C# and .NET 7. And today we will be we will be doing the repository pattern. So basically, repository pattern is a popular design pattern in software engineering, especially in object-oriented programming. Well, it is used to separate the logic that retrieves data from a database or other data stored from business logic that operates on that data. So when do we use repository pattern? We use repository pattern for different reasons, many different reasons, and one of them is for encapsulation. So this repository pattern provides a layer of abstraction between the data access code and the rest of the application. So the application makes it easier to change the underlying data source without affecting the rest of the code. So it will be easier to test when we make a repository pattern. And another feature is the centralization. With the repository pattern, all the data access code is centralized in one place, which makes it easy to maintain and update the code. It also gives makes the code reusable so that the data access code across multiple parts of the application, which can save time and reduce code duplication as well. And the most important of all is decoupling. So it helps us make in a loosely coupled application. So it makes us easy to modify the business logic or the data access code without affecting the other code. So we can easily modify the code without affecting a central code. For example, if you have a code in the controller, so you don't even have to modify the code in the controller to change any business logic. So you only have to modify the changes in the repository, but you don't have to modify the classes in the controller. So these are the benefits of repository pattern. So today we will be using a generic repository pattern in our application. So let's start our application. Let's see what we have done last time. And we will modify our code as well. So it's coming. Yeah, so we made a dashboard last time. We also made some check-ins. Check-in here. Okay, let's check in. Yep, it's working as expected. Okay, that's fine. Let's start the repository pattern. So for that, what we'll have to do is we'll make a new library project. So we'll add a new project and let's choose class library from here. It's called repository. And next. So let's choose .NET 7. Yep. And we will delete this class. So we'll add a new class here. So We'll call it repository, and let's make it public. And since we are going to make it a generic type, so we'll send any generic type in here, and it will send us the query of this generic type. So for that, we'll have to put this T as type, which would implement a generic, let's say a repository. We'll have to make a generic repository as well. Generic repository. We also have to make a generic an interface as well, so that other can implement this feature. Yeah, the type of class. Yeah, we can make a type of class, or if we have a base class, let's see if we have implemented base class. Yeah, so we can also implement this base entity in here. We'll have to make this I repository as well. So let's make I repository. And I'll show you a technique. Okay, let's add reference entities. And there are many unused libraries in here. So we'll remove these unused libraries by pressing Ctrl R and Z. So all the unused libraries are gone. So currently this I repository interface is not there. So let's create an interface. I repository. Okay, plus I repository. It's not class, it's an interface. Type G. And so there are many things that we do in database, like there are more many generic things that we do in the database, like mostly the CRUD operations, like create, read, update, and delete. So we'll make some methods for create, read, update, and delete. So I already have got this generic code for these. So I'm just going to copy this one to save our time. Yeah. You can copy these codes as well. You can copy from my GitHub repository or just type in, pause this video and type this as well. So what we are doing is we are returning a queryable type of get all, where we will return all the queries of this specific type. This is the INumerable type. So what happens? What's the difference between these two are like in queryable, like whatever we query. So we can query the same thing in the database, like whatever we query, whatever we type in link queries. Suppose if we include a type, two types, and we put some web queries, it goes directly, it writes the query directly into the database and brings only those specific rows. But in this INumerable, it loads all the data from the database to the memory, and then only it will apply that where query. But in iQueryable, it applies those where query directly into the database and gives us those specific rows only. I hope it made some sense. So for this case, single is to get only single data, add a sync. So this one is to add data into the database. Yeah, and we would add a sync to add data into database, like to insert data into database. And we also have got create a sync. So basically these two are pretty much similar, but in this one we are returning an integer. Probably we will be returning the added rows in here, and in here we'll just return the added entity, and we'll be updating and deleting. Sometimes we also need bulk create and update, and we also need some bulk delete as well. So for those purpose, we have added these three. So now what we are going to do is we'll implement this repository into this repository. So we put our mouse cursor in here and press Control dot, and then we use this implement interface. So all those methods will come over here. And in the repository, what we'll do is we'll make a constructor here. Double tap, yeah. And we'll need this application DB context, app context. And let's call it context. Let's say it's the right context. I don't know. I don't think it's the right context that we have created before. Let's see if that's the right. Well, actually, our context is in here. Application DB context. Oh, so currently our application DB context is inside our this main project, web application project. So this is tightly coupled with this project, but we want to move this into some other project so that it can be reused by any other projects like we got this this web project. We have also this web project. We might have other API projects as well. So to make this available to every other projects, we can just take this part into another library project so that it can be used by others as well. So for that, we'll need to refactor this code and bring this code into another library. We can either put this application DB context in this repository project, or we can put that into separate, maybe entities. Let's make these entities separate as well. And maybe we can put those in, yeah. I'll make, what I was thinking is I would make our data library and move these on that project. So where we'll be doing only the migrations and stuff. So let's make another new project. Let's call this. So let's call this as data. So you must be wondering why we're making these too many libraries. So we're doing this to make these codes or these libraries reusable, so that we can use in other projects across other projects as well. So we can even use these libraries. We can even copy these libraries over other repositories as well, not only in this solution, but we can copy this code and paste in other solutions as well, and we can just add a reference for this project and we can use them. So this process is also called like 3-layer architecture or an entire layer architecture. So let's move this application DB context. Let's copy whatever. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm just copy this and paste it in here. Yep. But I'll need to change this namespace. Let's copy this namespace from here and put this in here. Yeah, it's showing so many errors. That's because it doesn't have these dependencies, right? We need this identity entity framework core and entity framework core. So to resolve this, we'll go to NuGet package manager. And yeah, what we need is this identity.ui. Currently it's installed in here, but we need to install this in here as well. Okay, that's finished. And we need to remove this from this layer now. So let's uninstall this from here. Okay. So this is now installed in this project. Let's see. What else do we need? We need this entity framework core as well. So let's go back to our NuGet package manager and entity framework core and add this in here. It's done. And then we'll remove this from here. Now, we might need this as well. So one way to install these packages is by like clicking in here and installing in here. But there's another way. Another way is by just clicking in this library. And here you can see this includes, right? What we can do is we can just copy this code in from here, all the entity framework and ASP.NET Core ones, and double click in this library and paste it in here. And once you save it, it will start like installing those libraries. As you can see, I guess it's installed now. Or there's some error here. The tag was not closed. Okay. Do this one. Yeah. So this for this one, we need this. We need more than this one. So we need this whole thing. Let's copy this whole thing into this data. That's done. Yes, those will be installed in here now. Let's close that. So if you go to the dependencies and packages, you can see those libraries are now installed in here. Now I guess, okay, let's Control R and Z. Let's control dot and add reference to entities. No, it's gone. Now let's do Control R T. It's saying ASP.NET Core entity framework core. It haven't got an identity.entity framework core. Let's see. We've got entity UI, but not entity framework core. So what's that code? Yeah. Let's install this from here. Find and install the latest version. Okay, now it's installed and all those errors are gone now. Okay, I need to from this from here as well. Let's close all tabs, but this it's not app context, it's actually application DB context. Application DB context. Then this one, add reference to add data. We want the data one, not the Gmasters Pro one, because we'll be moving this from here. You know what? Let's delete this migration. We've got lots of migrations as well. We'll delete these migrations as well because we'll be creating a new migration. Okay. So let's delete this as well. Okay. So now this part is done. Entities are in here. So based on this application TV context, based on these, all our migrations would be created. Let's remove this unnecessary class as well. So now let's rebuild our project to see if there are any errors in our project. Okay, and there are some errors in there. It says, okay, now the master product data missing. So we'll just remove this. Let's remove this. Let's see. It's asking for, it's looking for app, this application the context. We have deleted this. So let's leave this for now because we'll be using this repository in here instead of this application context. So let's not touch this part. We will be operating those codes soon. Okay. So now this part is done. After that, we'll need to create a new migration. Actually, so what we'll be doing is we'll go to package manage the console and then we'll choose instead of this team manager, we'll choose data. We'll say test add as by person. Let's say something like initial period. Okay. So it says build failed. And the build is failed because let's just try and build this library only. Like this library builds, but I think it's failing because of this project. This project too many errors in here. Okay, let's try to fix those errors for now. What can we do is, so we've created a generic repository Okay, let's try to implement those for now. So what we will do is, okay, let's, so now before we used to inject this application context in these pages, these pages in here. So now we'll inject this application DB context only in this repository, and we'll use inject this repository in these pages instead. Okay, so so whatever we did in here, we'll be doing that in here in repository. We'll move those codes into repository. Let's create an assigned context. Let's see what else we have done in index. So for get, where you doing this part of code. For that, let's start from get. Okay. So I'll put some piece of codes written already. So I'll just copy those codes for now. You need to context and set this generic type, and we need this one, and in add async, we'll use this piece of code. We have to make this async and save this async. So this will add, insert a new entity into the database. And if something goes wrong, we'll throw exception. After that, let's go for bulk create async. In this bulk create async, so let's async in here. So in bulk create, we'll get list of entities. We'll add a range to this DB set and save changes. So we don't have to like we don't have to loop between these entities to save. It will save in bulk. So let's go to bulk delete as well. And make it async bulk update. Make this async. You can copy these codes from my GitHub link repository, which I will be sharing in the comments. Guys, you can fork this project as well. You can. Why don't you follow me in GitHub so that you can get up to date with my latest changes as well. Let us see. These are production ready codes. You can use these codes, this generic repository, into your production code as well, because these are already tested codes which works in production. And the most important is the get all one. Is get all one. In GitHub, we don't use async because we are just uh, returning it as variable so that we can make multiple queries into this logic, which would be uh, directly hit in the database. And we'll also be using this enumerable one. This enumerable one, we can make it assume. So whatever we query in this uh, enumerable one, so what it does is it will load those data into the memory, and then it will apply the like where conditions. So in real in reality, like this enumerable will, since it will load all the data from database to the memory, so this one will be slower, and this one, because in this one will be applying the queries where conditions into the database, and it will limit the data coming from the database. So this one will be quicker than this one. Okay, let's go for the single one. Let's use sync, and let's go with the update one. Let's use the sync in here. Oops. Yeah, so now this repository, a generic repository is ready. Now what we'll have to do is we'll have to inject this repository in here. Or what we can do is, so we can, there's a, in production, like we have another pattern, like after repository, we also make another layer called the service layer. So what service layer does is it makes a bridge between this out page and repository, so that we don't have to, so that we can make it even a looser application, loose couple application. So whenever it acts as a bridge between the repository and page, so we can even add some like validation logic into the service layer. Or sometimes we even want to change the repository. So service layer we can choose a different repository into our service. So we'll be using the service layer. So let's add a new layer. Let's also be class library, and let's call this services. And inside the service, what we'll be doing is we will be adding so for different entities, like for different pages, we'll add different services. For check-ins, memberships, we'll add different service for these different pages. So first, let's just rename this one. Let's make this members layer. Let's just member service. Yes. Okay. So in this member service, what we'll be doing is we will be injecting this repository in here. So I repository repository bring the reference, and it's coming here. Okay, let's press Control dot. There's something wrong in here. Oh, it's class. Actually, we'll have to do this inside the constructor, not in class. So let's type CTOR and double enter to bring the constructor and type right before it's really in here and let's bring this reference and then it's I repository. It's expecting type as well. So we'll have to give in some type. So we'll have to give the member type in here, like this one. And then yeah, repository. So we can to the pages, so to this index page, we can give them access. We can either give them access to all those features in this repository, or we can even give only some specific methods as required. So that's the point of this, making this service to encapsulate the features of the repositories. Had we injected this repository directly into the index, we would have access to all those methods. So let's make some important. Let's only give some specific methods to the index page. So currently in the index page, what we need is we only need these check-ins with including members and memberships. Okay. For index page, we just need this picture, but I guess for I guess in check-ins we do need create, delete details and edit as well. So I think we need all those CRUD features. So we will be exposing them all these CRUD features that's in this repository. Except what we'll be exposing them is so this create, delete, get all, and add and create our same. So create and update one. So we won't be exposing them this bulk create, update, and delete features because we don't need them at the moment. If you need them later on, then we can add those. Okay. So let's go into some service and let's make get feature first, public async. Let's make it asynchronous one, async task member, and so it's going to get members. Inside get members, what we'll be doing is repository dot get all. But as we see in index, we need, let's just copy this whole code and we'll modify this inside here. Let's put this below. So if context are check-ins, this is about check-ins. It's not about members. Let's delete this. Let's go into members. And in index 1, and get a sync. Let's copy this piece of code. So if members is not equal to null. Okay. So yeah, so we'll be taking this part. And then if repository.getAll, so repository.getAll will give us this part members. Then we'll include, so we'll include this part, include and trainers. There's this part in there. Oh, and that's done. We'll delete this part. Now, so since it's a sync, we'll have to put it in here. And we'll also have to return this. So since it's task, or since it's list, it will be return list. So we'll have to make this as a list as well. After this one, so the get one will have to make get single. Let's if we go to edit, I think no, let's go to create one first. On processing. So this validation part we'll be doing in this one only. What we need, I will only need this part. Let's copy this code. Let's just say it as public. Let's see task. Should we return the same entity? Let's see what we can do in here. Yeah, we'll also return the same entity. And what we'll be doing here is we'll return the member, the single member, and let's call this one as save. Let's do it asynchronously. Let's call it save sync. And we need member from the user. Let's call this member and then after getting the member, let's test this code. So before in create what we would get this member in here, right? But now we'll have to send this member in this service from here. We'll get this member from here, from this parameter. Instead of this capital member, we'll have to rename this member to small. So let's press shift alt delete to select all these members and paste it in here. And instead of this adding in here, this part will be handled by a repository. So we'll be using repository dot create sync, and we'll just send member here. Hit it by. uh, created by, we have it created by feature in here. Well, it's inside the space entity. Okay. So we don't have access to this username in here. So we won't use this part in here. We'll only use this part in here, and for other, we can just add that create part in here only, and then send that to this repository in here. So that's pretty much done, and this will return member. So we'll just return this whole part in here. So our save part is done. After that, let's do the update part as well. Let's just copy this whole part, and let's call this, instead of save, let's call this an update. So in update, it will be a little different. So we'll be updating an ID. Let's see what type of what's the ID. So our ID type is integer. So here it is an integer. We need an ID, and then so remember we'll have to check uh, if this uh, if this member with this ID already exists. So we'll check, like, let's call this response is equal to underscore repository dot get single. We will have get single here. Remember we created this control and F12. We'll go into this repository here, and remember this one. Here we will get single entity from the database. But here so here we have some issue. So here we don't need this QID. Instead of QID, we need integer. I guess we'll have GUID in lots of places. So let's remove this, replace GUID with integer, because our base class is integer. I think it's only in this one. Let's make this integer. So since we have changed that GUID, we will have to change that from here as well. Integer. Let's go now. Yeah. So now here it's single, and we pass this ID in here. So let's call this an existing member. So in the existing member, we'll be updating. So since we are just updating one, this one, so we'll not change this created yet. We'll just change that updated one. So this looks like this something. It says task. We will have to override this so that it doesn't come as task. So this member is nullable. So let's check if condition if existing member is null. If this member is null, then what we'll do is we just return null. Okay. Possible. We'll have to make it as nullable as well. Okay. But if it's not null, we'll have to update uh, data in here. Remember dot. So we'll have to update all this data in here one by one, and it's not equal to members but nodes and data now. So instead of the manually writing these, right, we have another library called the automapper. So what automapper does is like it maps uh, from one entity to another, so that we don't have to type these one by one. So what we'll do is you know what, let's do that some other time. For now, let's do it this difficult way. We'll use automapper some other day. Yeah. So AC member dot nodes is equal to this intelligence gives us some uh, codes, suggests us some codes so that we don't have to type in again and again. Existing member dot member dot checks existing member dot nodes carefully down dot printer existing member dot address have you already address now. So it's called the existing member dot. So address is done, trainer is done, sex is done, trainer ID. And ID is not done. So existing member dot memberships. Do we need memberships as well? I think membership is yeah. So these are just the collection, trainer, memberships, and check-ins. We only need this three part. Yeah, we don't need this one as well because these are just for navigations. And we'll be updating this part in here. We did that. Yeah, we don't need this part as well. And we'll be saving these to create a sync, and it will just save. It's not create actually, it's update sync. And since update sync is a task bool, so we'll have to make this bool in here as well. It's not one. So okay, let's make this nullable since we are trying saying null in here. After that, we'll be using, let's copy only this part. We'll also need the delete one. Let's make it as delete. And indeed, we'll just need the ID. And so it's the same code in here. You have to check if it exists. And if it doesn't exist, we'll just return null. And then we'll just call this delete function from the repository. Yeah, it's this one. Yeah. What we've done is delete, update, save, and get out. So it's CRUD. So all our CRUD operations methods are done in here. So what we'll have to do is, so since we'll have to inject this in our this index and create and edit pages, so we'll have to create an interface. So let's extract interface. Yeah. And the extracted interface go. Yeah, it's up in here. What we can do is let's make a different folder for interfaces, and let's move this interface in here. Okay, access namespaces. Okay. We'll access namespaces as well. Okay, so it's gone inside here. Now we'll have to inject this member inside our, yeah, instead of this application DB context. We'll use this iMember service. Use this reference. Yeah. We don't need this part here, and we'll assign this value here. And instead of this part on get, we'll just put underscore member service dot get members. This one. We have to override this. So I let me undo what was done before. So it was assigning this, whatever is written, it was assigning this into this member, right? So we'll have to do the same. So let's override this one and assign that to this member. And this member is linked with the one in our page. Let's do Control RG. Okay. So now we'll get this member. We go into this member, get members inside our service by pressing Control F12. Now we'll get these all members, including the friend. Okay. So the get part is done. Now let's go towards so after injecting this member service into this constructor, we'll also have to register this into the IOC container. So we'll have to tell this application that whenever we are calling this iMember, just go to iMember service. Then so one interface can have many of these concrete classes. But now we just have this one service. But later on, if we decide to make other services, like we can use the same interface with other services as well. But to say to this application that we want this specific member class whenever we call this interface, so we'll have to go to this program.cs class and register that part, like the one they are doing here. So what we'll have to do is builder.services dot add what's called And the services that I think it was something like, yeah, scoped. Add scoped. Inside we put I member service. So whenever we call I member service, we need concrete class called membership member service. Yeah, like this. Did I do it right or wrong? Let me check how it's done. We'll make this in here. So it's done like this. We'll also have to do the same for the repositories as well. I let's put the generic repository first. So for generic repository, what we'll have to do is type of our repository like this, and then type of repository. Add scoped type of our repository, the type of repository. What's wrong in here? What's the fix? Something wrong in here. Okay. Put copy and put this in here. Okay. It's like this builder the services that add scoped type of file repository of repository. So we've injected this repository and there's some warning here. Okay. Okay, so there's some issue with this application DB context in here. Let's see how we can deal with this application DB context. We'll have to, yeah, where is this? I think that's inside data now. Okay, now that's gone. Yeah, it should be fine. Now, there's one problem like, so since we'll have many services, so every time we make a new service, we'll have to inject those, like we'll have to register those in this here. So we'll have to keep on changing this one here. So instead of writing these codes in here, what we can do is we can, so that this class doesn't got like, it doesn't got too much codes in here, we'll make a new class called, we'll like change this into a new class. So what we can do is, can we refactor this code? Yeah. We can extract into a local function, but I don't want to extract this into a local function. What I want to do is I want to make a new folder. The name of the folder would be like, let's call this as extensions, and let's add, since we'll be like registering these dependencies in here. So let's call these as since it's a kind of IOC container. So we'll be registering those in this IOC container. Let's make a new class. Let's call these as IOC container. Okay. And in this IOC container, we'll be registering the we'll be registering all those. We'll be like migrating these codes. Let's cut this code and it's pasting here. But first we need a method. We'll need a static method. Static, let's say register registered dependencies. Dependencies. Yeah. But, we'll use this keyword here. So we'll actually make an extension class. So to make an extension class, we'll have to use this parameter into constructor. So I service collection services. So it says this is not content. Actually, we'll have to make this class as static as well. Let's import. Now, these services will be available from here. What we'll do is we'll call this method. Let's place those. We'll need this build now. And we'll copy this services from here. Okay. So we'll have to register these dependencies in here. We'll also have to call this in here as well. So build dot services dot and register dependencies. Yeah. So whenever we call this, so whenever we put an extension class this and the services collection here, so we can directly call those methods by just putting dot in here. So we don't have to make any changes in this program.js class later on. What we'll just change, we'll just add anything that comes in this class later on. Okay. I'll put this up top in here. So our repository is injected, registered, membership is also registered. Let's see what else do we have to register. So our create part, yeah. And next part is done. Now let's look at this great part. Yep. So these validations are done from these pages. And now member dot. Okay, instead of this part, we'll be calling, yeah. So instead of this one, user manager we might need, but instead of this one, what we'll be using is we're using the service, and it's called member service. Or it's actually iMember service. So we will be injecting this iMember service. So whenever our constructor sees this iMembers service, it will just go to this IOC container and see this iMember service is registered with this member service. So it will give us a new instance of this member service. So this is same as like calling this like where this iMember service is going to new is concrete member service. So instead of doing this part, this code, we are just we are doing that part, like calling this new instance from here instead of doing this class, this part. So this is called as dependency injection. This is a very like important design pattern, mostly used in .NET Core. So we remove this one, remove this one. And member service. Okay. So context trainers. So we'll also need to inject the trainers as well. But for now, we just have these members. And this member service dot get members. So we'll do this one. So we don't need this one. We don't need to check this part actually. We don't need to check. If there are no many members. Yeah. So whenever we're creating, we don't need to check if there are any more members in database. So we don't need that part actually. So here we need to okay and save async, and then we'll add this member in here. Wait. Right. So we're creating a new member. with the username. Yeah, this should be fine. But for trainers, to get those trainers, we'll have to make a new service for trainers as well. So as we have done for members, so let's make one service. Let's just copy this code. Let's make a trainer service. Control Alt dot, yeah. And let's remove this because it will be created. Control Alt dot to select all the members and we'll replace that with trainer. Right. So let's fix these errors. So we want to get all trainers. Let's go into trainers index and see what was the query before. So it was just returning trainers, all the trainers, no include. So no include in here, just trainers data. Say this is fine. Yeah, and I think, yeah, it's existing trainer and trainer dot. It should be trainer in here as well. Instead of let's list all members. Trainer as well. So trainer has notes. Trainer has two notes. Let's address this. Sales address. Let's see what other properties are there for trainer. So trainer has these properties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 properties. 1, 2, 3, 4. Data part would be it's not clear time right now. It's whatever that came from the client would be trainer data part. Six is already done. Repeat at. We don't need the address down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 notes. Oh, we need first name and last name as well. Let's say dot first name, last name is equal to dot last name. And this is done. Date of birth email is equal to first name, last name, ID, members is collection notes. Salary. Did we write salary? No. Let's see what else is left. I think pretty much everything is done now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fields in here. Let's double check how many fields I have, except this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And one is updated from here, 10 and 11. Yeah, it looks fine now and it is sync. So that's done. Update sync. Let's check if delete works. Yeah, delete is already working. Save as sync. And this looks fine as well. So we'll need to generate extract interface. Control RG. By extracting interface, we need to move this interface inside here. Yes. And we'll also need to register them in this IOC container. So new I banner service banner service. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And instead of this context, we'll also let's enter in here. We'll also inject I banner service here and we use I banner service dot get banners. We use correct. Oops. So since this is not sync, we have to make this a sync and task as well. So we get trainers from the surface. Now, looks fine. There's something wrong in here. Let's control RG for housekeeping. No, it looks fine now. So pages for members. Index page is done. It is done. Now let's look at delete. So I member I member service computer. So we'll have to check if there are any members, right? Yeah. So let's member service get members. We have to open this one. Member service Right? That's single. Wait, what was method? Get single member. I don't need all the members. I just need a single member. Do we have any method for that? Oh, we haven't made method to for single. What we can say is get member by ID. So we can set into the ID in here. And what we can do is to our dot was our default sync and such that extra ID is equal to this ID. And here will be sending a single number. What do you say? Repository is not involved here. Because it's sending, it might be nullable. What we can do is, yeah, we'll do it this one. And since this part is not in our interface, we'll have to add this part in our interface as well. So let's go in here and let's get member by ID, and this foster default part already done inside this member. So we'll just have the same ID in this method. What's on now? But this ID is nullable. We don't want nullable, we just want a single ID. Right? What we can do is if ID is equal to 0 and 0 now, async task on what's on in here. One doesn't care of it. Get member by ID doesn't have of it. Oh, that's cover of it. Okay, if member is now not found, then we assign it. This looks good on post. So this is the delete one. Okay, we'll be using the same output members here. Find async. So this is same as this one. And if member is not even now, we'll assign the same member. ID should be 0. And instead of this, remove member, we'll just use underscore serve member service dot delete async, and we'll just send this member. We'll audit this. Oh. Passing this ID here. So delete part is also gone. Now let's go to details part. the same process. I remember service and this one same here. Can you suggest me? Okay, it's not suggesting. In the service dot with my member ID and ID. If it finds a member, if it doesn't find a member, it will know. Otherwise, same member would be okay. Okay, that's done. Control RC. Now the edit one. We do the same process in here. Member service, member service. Delete this context and member service. Yeah, this one in here. Dot get member by ID and ID. We don't want this nullable because whenever we want to check member, there should be some ID, right? If you find that member, then we'll send those member. Here we need trainer as well, so we also make inject our trainer service. Let's put enter in here and here. So let's always trainer service dot get trainers. And this is edit, so instead of this one, we're done with this part here. Okay, this will be handled by our service and repository. What we need is part in here, and instead of this contact change, we don't need this whole part because this will be handled by our service. So underscore member service dot update sync, and we will change this member object in there. All right. Is there something wrong here? Oh, it's also expecting an ID. So let's log in user on post. Where is the ID? So when we're clicking this, I can remember where this member, we're also assigning member ID. So member ID would be in this member or this member dot ID would already be in this member. ID and member exists. Why do we need this member exist? Well, before it was needed in here, check if member exists, but we don't need this method now. because that memory access will be handled in this method only. If you see yeah, we have already checking if this memory access if it's null, just return null. Will come as null. So yeah. So what we can do is we can response is to check if it's null. If the response is if the response is null, we can just return the page. Later on, we can show some validation error as well in page. But for that, we need to make some view that which send the error in this view data. We'll do that later on. Right now, let's just fix all those changes. Okay. So edit is done and index is also done right now. But that's only done for members. So we haven't checked in memberships. So we'll have to do the same in these um, all these pages like check-ins, memberships, plans, and trainers. But for now, we have to fix these errors, right? It can't find this application context, right? So what we'll do is for temporary fix, since I've already deleted that, what I'm thinking is I'll restore that. Actually, it's in our recycle bin. Let's go to recycle bin. So application data context, I'll just restore it. Migration, I'll restore that as well. So now what happens is migration and application data has come. Now the errors in these pages will also go away. So now if I rebuild this, now there are less errors, but there are still some errors. Maybe now the application says it's ambiguous, so there are two applications in context. So what I can do is give direct reference of this namespace data dot yeah application to the context. Let's just I will build this again. Let's try to run if it works. But I just want to check the members. Okay. Saying index model. It's unable to resolve application DB context. Pages with index model. Which page? The master pro data. Data.index model. So it's saying the master pro dot data application data context. So since we have um, so that's the problem. Since we have removed that, since we have removed, since we are only using this application data TV context from this data and not from here, we are getting this error. To make a temporary fix, let's see what happens if we put both of these application context. Using this, okay, let's use this one in here. I think we'll also ask one. Then if this will work. I'm not sure if this will work. Otherwise, we'll have to change all those pages. We'll have to update in all those pages. Okay, now it's working. So total members. So members, it looks like members are working. Let's try to log in. Yeah, we are logging as well. Yes, yeah, it looks like these members are working. Let's put debug context. Let's put this debug in this in here, and let's refresh. Yeah, so now it looks like. And let's go inside our service. Let's go inside our repository. Yeah, looks like, yeah, we're getting member from our members. Members, yeah. So it looks like it's working. Let's try to update. Yeah. Let's try to change this 20 from Jeff to Tom. Yeah, 20 is also changed. So it looks like it's working. It's working with our new services as well, but we'll need to do the same for the checkings and trainers and for memberships and for our, but today I'll do this much. And so since others are all just redundant code, which I think you can do it by yourself, and I'll not include those process of refactoring code in this lesson, in this video. I'll do that, those part in background, and I'll push those codes in later on. But for now, so this much for today, and I'll hope to see you in more in later in other lessons. So if you want more videos like this, you can just comment in the comment section below. So this much for today. Thank you guys.